with all the threats that he had in the school. Just like how your shoulders.
All right. The speech
Okay,
I'm
folks.
doing-
Folks.
The speech I'm doing is the gay wedding cake incident that was in the news recently. In the news recently, a gay couple walked into a Christian bakery and asked them to cater their wedding. The Christian bakery said it was against their religious beliefs and that they didn't want to cater the wedding. The issue has arisen in mass media as well as online as to whether or not it should be legal to deny service to the LGBT community, on whether individually owned companies have the right to their religious beliefs and to act or to not act on those said beliefs. Some have argued that type of discrimination against the LGBT is no different than the Jim Crow laws. While I myself am not black, I have been discriminated against because of my gender, because of my race, and because of my religious beliefs. On top of that, both of my parents are black and they grew up in the South during desegregation. And I do have a bit of knowledge about what my parents went through down in South Carolina. The issue of whether or not LGBT is the new black, while there does not seem to be lots of discrimination against LGBT individuals, if you can imagine two separate individuals. One individual, male, black hair, brown eyes, black, let's face it, he's black. He's obviously, visually, you can tell in an instant he's black. Take a second person, while blonde, blonde hair, blue eyes, a cap on his head, typically dressed in every way, shape, or form, right? If the black person walks into an establishment that has a sign up that says, "We don't serve black people," you can expect instant hostility the moment he gets in there. However, the white person who walks into an establishment that has a sign that says, "Help wanted, long-haired freaky people need not apply," he could walk in, apply for the job, get the job, and then take off his cap, revealing the fact that he is a long-haired freaky person. Similarly, at one point in time, it was illegal for black people to enlist in the Army. And even when they're allowed to enlist in the Army, there were very limited jobs that they were allowed to do. On the other hand, homosexuals have always been in the military. So the two are not completely comparable. Unless the gay person tells you, or you find out the hard way, you'll never know if a person is actually gay or not. However, you can generally tell that a black person is black. So I wouldn't say that they're necessarily the new black, but I'm not discounting discrimination either. And that there is some comparable notes. It doesn't matter why or for what reason one is being discriminated against. It hurts. It makes us feel sad, singled out. The question is it right to be singled out? Specifically, is it right to single out an LGBT individual? Let's look at this from a different perspective. Let's say the bakery was owned by a Jewish person, and another individual walks into the bakery and wants a cake with a golden swastika on it. If you're not allowed to discriminate someone for their religious beliefs, or their race, or their gender, or their sexuality, is it right for the Jewish person to refuse to make a swastika cake? Some would say that, well, no, it's the Nazis and they were all hate and whatnot. Some would argue that it's not comparable, but what if the person who wanted the swastika cake wasn't a Nazi, but a Hindu, or a Buddhist, or a Celt, or a Native American, all of which have had the swastika symbol as a religious symbol, which had nothing to do with discrimination. Which have religion. One of the advantages to owning your own company, especially a mom and pop shop establishment, is to do the work you want to do and not do the work you don't want to do. Well, it shouldn't be the government's job to tell people how to run their businesses, or anyone else for that matter. It's also not right to discriminate someone based on their sexuality. Nowhere in any of the articles about the Christian bakery did it say that they were unwilling to serve the gay couple, only that they didn't want to cater a gay wedding. If a bakery was unwilling to cater a mixed race marriage because they had either a religious or a political or whatever reason, would that have been wrong? Should the government be allowed to dictate how you operate your business? Not just having guidelines, but which jobs you can and cannot turn down. If an individual owns a company and doesn't feel comfortable catering a gay wedding, should the law dictate that they cater it, even if they are uncomfortable in the atmosphere? If a white person who owned a bakery didn't want to deliver in Harlem because they thought it was unsafe, should they be forced to deliver a cake in Harlem? So to conclude, you cannot legislate morality. Your morals and your ethics need to be dictated by logic, but you cannot dictate them to another, or at least it would be equally wrong for you to do so. While we should protect people from being wrongly discriminated against in some cases, to protect one might be to harm another. In this country, we do have the First Amendment to protect people's religious beliefs. However, we also have made laws to protect minority groups from large majority of bigots. For example, when the Civil Rights Act of 1964 made the Jim Crow laws illegal, the First Amendment was designed to protect free speech. Religion is part of free speech and is equally protected under the First Amendment. It is the founding cornerstone of our country. One could say that refusing to cater a gay wedding was not only them exercising their religious rights, but also their free speech against something that they believe to be morally wrong. Whether I agree with those beliefs or not is irrelevant. Whether you believe those beliefs is right or wrong is irrelevant. The other question is, do you want to actually have a government which has the power to tell you how to run your individual business? On the flip side, how would you feel if you wanted to get married and the only baker in the area wouldn't cater your wedding because they didn't like the person you were getting married to? Isn't it also in the best interest of a company to get a large account like catering a wedding? Is it wrong to discriminate based on their sexuality? The heart wants what the heart wants. How can that be immoral? In the end, no matter how you slice the wedding cake, it appears whichever side you choose, the other side will be discriminated in one way or another.
Couple questions for John.
So what do you think? Do you think that they should have made the cake?
The reason I picked this is because I'm totally on the fence on this one. There are merits to both sides on this one, and while I don't have a problem with homosexuality, well, I can't say that entirely. I am uncomfortable around male homosexuals and the whole male homosexuality, but that's my problem. That's my issue. I don't have a problem with gay marriage. I don't have a problem with, I mean, if it's legal for a straight couple to show signs of affection in public, it should be legal for gay people, whether or not I feel uncomfortable with it.
I didn't know it was illegal for gay people to show affection in public.
Depending on where you live, if you're homosexual, you get the death penalty.
Where's that at?
In other countries.
Yeah, there's
India passed the law.
It's illegal,
like
illegal in India.
there's one
A
in
variety of
Africa.
Africa, Kenya, for example, Somalia. There's a number of, especially Eastern African countries.
Specifically, what was in the news was Nigeria.
Nigeria,
Nigeria.
Western
If you're
African
gay
country.
and you leave the country, they will extradite you back just to execute you. So yeah, like they went way beyond to like hunt down homosexuals and kill them. It's totally.
You know, for the religious beliefs, is those beliefs are extended beliefs or the very primary beliefs? Like somebody say, my religion doesn't allow me. I'm not sure people have implied those beliefs or they are strictly written in their book.
Well,
Anything
in
they
Leviticus
believe is
and Deuteronomy, hold on, not Deuteronomy, Exodus. In Exodus and Leviticus, there are two passages that tell you to kill homosexuals.
Okay, so they are part of their
Yeah,
original
and-
beliefs.
Yeah, it is ingrained into the three main religions.
Well, it's not, I mean, you have the right to the freedom of your thought, not just your religion here, so
Yeah, that too.
just the fact that I think something is true, that's my belief. I don't have to base it on anything religious, and it's still a right here, right? So you might not like that this guy's burning the flag, but in America, he's got the right to do that, and you have the right to stand there and
No, I was
not be
specifically
mad about
asking if it's wrong by the religion. I understand the freedom of speech is another thing
Okay.
which is separate from religion.
So I guess I didn't understand then your question.
My
He-
question was specifically about the religion, like if religious beliefs are, because I really don't have much knowledge about the religion here. And my question was, as the answer, that by certain religion, are they
Yeah, he spoke of one
specified
religion.
as their original beliefs?
Yeah,
Okay.
Because the
three major
Quran,
religions all use the Bible.
Yeah, there's thousands of religions in America.
Because it's
Yeah,
not
but
in
you-
Hindu religion or Sikh
You make up
religion,
your
the three main
Even
ones,
the
you
people
have the
believe
Torah,
that
and
is
you
by
have
the
the
Bible
Bible,
religion,
which
but
is
it's
the
just
Torah,
extension
and-
of the beliefs, you know.
Yeah,
yeah, you have,
which I think those cake people were Christians, right? That's
yeah, they
why-
were Christians, but it's also in the Torah, and because it's in the Torah, it's also in the Quran.
But why would they want the cake from people who don't want them to serve?
I know, that's
You
what I
know,
was wondering. Did they know they were Christians?
Well, I think the issue was that they felt so discriminated and wronged by them being turned down that they, I guess, went to the media and
Well,
then
yeah, it makes the news.
apparently eventually it went to court. But I just read today that Colorado court said that they were wrong in discriminating against them.
But,
And
but they have the right to not serve. They might have been,
no,
it
they
might have
said
been
it was
morally wrong.
they said that in Colorado it's homosexuality is protected,
Right, but
so you can't discriminate based on race or just like.
so that would be the
just like-
government telling them that they have to bake a cake for gay people.
Okay, let me put it this way.
They
Like,
would.
it's like
get sued. That's
let's
what
say
they
you
say.
go to apply for a job and the person who owns the company is a strict fundamentalist Christian who believes that women's place is only in the home because of a passage in the Bible. They can't not hire you just because you're female.
Right, but they just did the opposite, they just did that exact same thing to the other situation, is by telling them that they have to.
Right.
Well, I mean,
And I think it might even come down to who owns that company, is it owned by a group, what's the vote?
Well, that's why I specifically mentioned in my thing an individually owned company, because if you say privately owned,
Right.
that can be Walmart. But if you're talking about individually owned, that's more like mom and pop. That's like some guy put up a shingle and said, okay, this is my store, this is what I'm selling. So I think it should be different on different levels. I think when you're talking of like, because the guy's maybe gonna hire one other person, maybe two other people if he's lucky. You know, maybe like an individual company, usually I don't think hires more than like 12 to like 20 people. Once you get beyond that, you have like a semi-franchise type thing. And at that point, I think that, you know,
The level of the rules should change based
well,
on that
the
kind of-
employment, the Fair Employment Act, you know, because you can't discriminate on race, color, creed, ethnicity,
and who you hire.
yeah, for people you hire. Like, Lincoln Electric was just, last year, I think, they were taken to court and sued because they didn't hire black people.
That's a different thing than
Yeah.
serving someone or having a customer who's gonna pay you for your service.
Yeah, those are employment securities governed.
But
I mean, we also live in a country where, I mean, a long time ago, if it was a mom and pop restaurant, it didn't matter. A black person couldn't go in there. I mean, don't you think the government needs to step in for equal rights?
Yeah, that's why I said I'm on the fence on this, because on either way you go, you're telling either someone how to run their business and they have to do certain jobs that they don't wanna do, which is the whole point of owning your own company. And on the other side, you don't have the right to, you know, just wrongfully discriminate against people like that.
Yeah, I mean, because let's take this into a certain category of businesses. What if you were a private physician, and you decided that you weren't going to treat gays or blacks, and if people came to you with sickness and they had no other option because you're the only person in the area, you would think that a physician would have, by the nature of the Hippocratic Oath, a sort of obligation. But if they have a bias against certain peoples based upon their race or their sexual orientation, maybe not. So, you know, do we begin down that road of, okay, so we can discriminate against folks when they're asking for services when it comes to catering, and that would be okay, but it's not okay when people are asking for medical attention. So in other words, where do you separate that?
Are you being oddly specific for a reason?
What?
Are you being oddly specific for a reason?
Yeah?
Yes,
Okay.
you let one do it, you let one do it, you gotta let them all do it.
No, no,
Yeah,
I'm saying because that was in the news like
It gets
last month.
tricky when we go one way or the other.
But here in America,
Yeah, that
I
happened
would
here
see
in
that as
America.
an opportunity to go over to a cake store and put gays welcome and make all kinds of money.
There's that too.
Right? I mean, there's gonna
Depending
be,
on the homosexuals
then
or
as an
people who can be out
American, you
of
choose to
pocket.
go to that store or not, right? So if you, it's so complicated.
The
You know what's
pizza
really-
company you're talking about, they closed and actually made $846,000 on GoFundMe.
Yeah, because they said something in the media and then
So
like the internet attacked them basically, and then someone said
Yeah.
GoFundMe. They
Some
got-
people, some very loud people in the LGBT community who are very bad representation of the LGBT community, death threats and burning down the business and
Yeah.
stuff like
Oh,
that.
lovely.
So
They got like
they
500 grand or
closed,
something, right? to stay
and then
open.
they got 800,000 from
And then
GoFundMe.
well, to reopen, and then they said, no, I'm just gonna stay retired, and they just give the money.
Exactly.
But yeah, that happened. A physician refused two lesbians care, and apparently that was upheld. They were legal.
Real.
I don't know why that doctor didn't lose his license.
Not go to that store anymore.
Okay.
Her license. Sorry, I think it was. I forget. I'm sorry.
Anyway, all right, well, thank you, John. Thank you, John. You have to at least appreciate John for taking on these tough topics.
Oh, wait till I do the next one.
I can't wait.
I can only imagine.